Think about that if you're doing outfit content, if you're doing beauty content, if you're doing home renovation content. Welcome, Negronis with Nord, episode 93. I am here. My moth is also here. Have y'all seen this? Maybe we should go through the dead things in my office one day. Me, this moth. As it's election day, maybe America, but welcome. Happy election day. Hopefully you've exercised your right to vote, unless you disagree with me, in which case, feel free to stay home. Listen, before we get into heavy shit, I have been bothered by something recently. I've been getting 10 to 30 DMs a day from people who have fake Hermes factories. So they say. Obviously, there's not this many fake Hermes factories in the world. Are you all getting this DM? If so, hit us in the comments. If we have enough people that are getting this, I will not personally, but I will take some money and we are going to launch an investigation. And they're like, I want to know the person who is creating hundreds and hundreds of fake accounts to DM people saying they have a fake Hermes factory. Maybe we will actually respond back and see what happens. But if this is as pervasive as I feel it is, then maybe this is a way for Fohr to launch its investigative journalist side of the business. And we're just going to look into DM scams. But this could be the first one. Let us know. Let's start with the election. Regardless of how this thing falls, this episode is being released on election day. We probably will not know tonight or tomorrow morning who has won this thing unless it's a total blowout. So let's assume it's going to be a number of weeks. It is going to be an emotional, tense time. Again, regardless of this side that wins, we're going to see protesting. We're going to see hand wringing. There's going to be an enormous amount of news happening. In those moments, it can feel ridiculous to talk about skincare routine or to do an ad for a brand. That coincides this year with holiday shopping starting. This is an incredibly important time for brands. As we get closer to Black Friday, depending on when this thing gets called and how much turmoil there is, invariably there's going to have to be a lot of sponsored content that makes it out into the world while intense world events are happening. Now, as influencers, we've gotten more and more used to that, right? To navigating these complex societal issues and understanding where your content fits in. We're going to reshare some resources that we have. One, email that you can send to brands if you feel that you need a little more time or you don't feel comfortable posting. But also, it's important to make sure that you're in the right headspace to do the job effectively, and that your audience is in the right headspace to receive that ad, right? And we have the authority to pause our clients' content. We do it because things move very quickly and we have a lot of clients and we can't wait to email all of them and get the approval. And the reason is that, for us, when we pause, it has nothing to do with if we support the cause or we are on one side of an argument or another. It's more about the tone and tenor of social media as a organism, as a living and breathing thing. And if we feel that the conversation is overwhelmingly dominated by something in the news and that we feel that the ad is either going to shed a negative light on the brand or it's just going to be lost in all of this other noise and that people are hyper focused on something else, that we pause the ads. And I think for you know your audience better than anyone. And you will know when it's the right time to roll the sponsored content back out. It's good for you to assume that there's going to be at least a couple of days, maybe a week, where sponsored content may not feel appropriate. And it's worth looking at the schedule that you have now and understanding where the complexities are. Do you have posts that are tied to a specific launch or a specific sale event, right? If a brand is running a 3-day sale and they want you to post about it starting Thursday to promote the weekend sale, Thursday morning you say, I don't feel like I can do this. I could do it next week. Well, the sale's over and that post is now worthless and you may have to forego that fee. Or You may be throwing the brand's plans into turmoil. So it's good to take a look at what you have scheduled now for both your organic and your sponsored content. Understand that there's probably going to be some disruption to that. Take care of yourselves. Understand it's going to be a complex couple of weeks. You know your audience best. Over communicate with your brand partners. You are part of a bigger machine, and just checking out, ghosting, not sending the note is the least acceptable form of letting somebody down. So get ahead of those things and understand that it's going to be a difficult few weeks probably. Point two I want to talk about today is not a fully fleshed out thought, but more directionally something I see. We've been seeing in the sponsored content that we are doing a kind of bifurcation of what is working. The two kind of types of content that are really working is stuff that is genuinely entertaining, funny, clever, whatever it might be, or stuff that's just like a very simple ad that feels almost infomercially in its structure, but is not trying to be deeply entertaining. We've been talking about this for over a year, about the need to be entertaining. The algorithms crave entertaining content that, like, before you educate or inspire somebody, you have to entertain them first. And I actually think that is starting to change as brand-focused content becomes a bigger part of social. I think the initial feeling was, well, all of it has to be entertaining. It has to be tied up in something else. But again, some of the stuff that's performing best is just like super, super simple. I mean, we just had a post for a brand that drove hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales, and it was just 10 outfits from that brand. A little bit of VO, but no clever editing, no big production, no personal story tying the creator to the clothes, nothing like that. It was just 10 cute outfits and a discount code, and it sold hundreds of thousands of dollars in product off of one post. And we're seeing this more across the board, that I think it is increasingly acceptable to just pitch a product in a compelling, concise way. Don't bury the lead. Just come out with it, and that doesn't mean you can phone it in, tummy tea, like, people holding up next to their face. I do think if you genuinely think a product is great, I had this problem or need, this product solves it, and here is proof of that. It's like a pretty simple equation that works over and over and over. And it's been the case with making advertisements for as long as ads have existed. This is changing our thinking about what constitutes a good ad. They don't all have to be these hyper creative, entertaining things that are going to break the algorithm. Sometimes people do just want a simple pitch on why a product is great and why they might want to buy it. So for creators that are feeling overwhelmed by the need to like do skits and all these things, like, I do think I'm seeing a world where just being a good pitch person and being able to concisely tell a product's features and benefits really quickly is working just as well, if not better, than some of the more entertaining content that we see out there. We will keep an eye on that, try and pull some data. Let me know if y'all have been seeing more of this kind of straightforward content, and also if that is balanced with you feeling pressure from brands to constantly put out stuff that is entertaining, that has some sort of narrative or storyline, and if you have a preference for either or. My last point, this one is very brief, along the same lines though. Something to consider if you are doing a more straightforward post is stealing formats from other categories. If you think about like recipe content, it always starts with the finished product. I don't think it's compelling to see just like an empty dish and someone be like, today I'm going to cook da 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 da, and then you have to wait a minute and a half to get to the end result. They always show the end result, quick cut, go into how you made it. Think about that if you're doing outfit content, if you're doing beauty content, if you're doing home renovation content, that like pull someone in really quickly. And one way to do that is to show the after before. This is something with our beauty clients that we actually had to push for. They didn't want to show the finished look first, but we saw the data that was working. We heard from creators that in their organic content, they were always showing the finished look before they went back to the beginning, and it was performing better. Eventually, brands started seeing that more and more, but it's performing really well. So a little free tip to steal. That is all. We're going to continue doing these solo shows whenever I feel like it, bringing on great guests. If you have questions for me, as always, put them in the comments. If you have people you'd like us to interview, also throw that in the comments. Like, subscribe, share this, send me a note, tell me I'm great, and we'll see you next week or in 2 weeks or whenever we publish another one of these.